Alright, so welcome back to the WideFox build. Now that you've seen the HVAC box, you know it can be crossed off the list. HVAC box, done. Second thing, cooling lines from the engine now to the HVAC or the heater core, done. With those two things in, now I can put the dash beam back in and I can start working on the ductwork, getting it assembled. Alright guys, so back at it again today. Felt like a really good day yesterday with getting the HVAC box done, the cooling lines in. No coolant in yet, but I'm going to leave that kind of for the last because it's really pretty easy to do. So I've got the dash beam back in. I put in the heater controls. I've wired in, so I made the connection on the wiring harness to the HVAC box. Put the dash beam in. Got the gauges connected up so they can at least somewhat function. And I did check that the fuel pump does run. So the green wire that comes out goes through the circuit box. That works. All I need now is the ECM to tell a relay to turn the fuel pump on. So I've got to do that one wire, figure out which relay it is, and get that one wire connected up. And then the fuel pump will at least turn on. I know I can manually take care of it that way if I can't get the ECM or something to work, but it should work. Should work. So I think the last thing really to do is just kind of get the power to the ECM. That's where I think I really need to focus now. The always on power is there. It's the switched power is what I really need. So that's probably the last piece to work on. Now I'm also going to connect up the car to the battery and make sure everything else kind of works in the car itself. And then it should be, I think, one wire, just the switched turn-on wire for the ECM. And I think the car, once the fuel pump's on, should fire. All right, so we're getting down to the end of the day today. So I've got the fuel pump connected to the main harness. I did get the car to turn on. Basically, the car itself is now connected to the battery. So once I put the positive cable on, headlights work, turn signals work. Got a couple lights that don't work, so that may be a bulb or something else. Blower motor is hooked up and it doesn't turn on. So there again, I don't know. I know this original harness in the 80 is pretty chopped up. I think they had an alarm in here, and there's just too many cut wires, basically splices here and there that I need to go through. After I get basically the ECM to fire up, I'm going to go through each circuit and look for things that are wrong, things that are right, and then try to slim down that harness if I need to, if I can. But let's check the scoreboard at the end of today. Okay, so the board says at the end of the day, what do we got? We have blower wiring, done. Fuel pump. Fuel pump wire is now connected to the main harness. What else we got? Mount rear speakers. Those are done. Now I just need to actually have a radio in the car and wired. And let's see. No. Let's see. Mount dash frame. That is done. So the things I have to do now is really get the clutch bypass switches, so you know there's ignition comes down in, and then when you push the clutch in, basically it allows power to go through. That will start the car and go to the ECM and some other things. So I've still got to do that. It needs to be lengthened from the driver's side, or I'm sorry, the passenger side over to the driver's side to be able to hook the clutches. So I'm still working on lengthening those out, and those will get pulled out of the bundle. So the bundle is constantly just shrinking wire by wire until it's none needed to be done. Alright, so with everything under the dash kind of coming together, one of the things I wanted to make sure of was that the WideFox would be able to start with the key. When I bought the 80 a couple years ago, it had a push button switch kind of rigged in the bottom of it really. And it was bypassing the solenoid, so you turn the key on. If you turned it to start, it wouldn't do anything, it was dead. They had put the switch in to basically jump the starting or the starter solenoid, So I assume the solenoid is dead. I knew the 92 had worked when I took it apart because I started it. You guys have seen it if you've seen the video. I drove it in here, I took it all apart, and then I set it aside. One of the things that's been plaguing me this week is trying to get back to where it should be on all the harnesses. So I knew the 80 was probably bad. So the 92 solenoid I put in the car, and that's the one I've been kind of using as mock-up. And I took out all the switches, really. Went directly from the ignition key to the wire all the way back to the solenoid. Hooked up the battery, hooked up all the pieces, and nothing. Couldn't figure it out. I thought, man, this solenoid is got to be good, because it was good at 90, right? It was good 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So I kind of debated, could it really be the solenoid? I checked all the wiring. I knew everything was working. Well, I ended up going this week because the 92 solenoid wouldn't work. I swapped over to the 80, which I thought was bad. It didn't work. So I went and got a cheapie from the auto parts store here in town. And sure enough, when you turn the key, it does try to start the car. So with that question answered, now I'm debating in my own mind, do I wire in all the switches back again where you have to push in the clutch to be able to start the car? And I think the answer is yes. So I need to do a little bit more research to be able to integrate the switches and all that from the ECM and everything from the 92 back into the 80 to make sure it all works together. But I have answered the question. The solenoid is bad, and I do know, for whatever reason, I cannot get the clutch switches and all that stuff to work for any reason. I can go straight from the key to the solenoid. Assuming the ECM works, it'll fire the car. Okay, so due to the July 4th holiday, kind of breaking up this week on Wednesday, what that means is the fuel clips I ordered are not here. The samples I ordered are not here. So those will have to come in next week, where I'll show you guys at least the samples of what the colors are. But I kind of had this debate in my mind. Do I really want to do this? The samples are paid for and ordered, so I'll keep them. But do I really want to change the color of the WideFox? I still am not convinced personally. The original color, I don't know. The anthracite is not really the color I thought it was going to be. And I'm kind of debating, is it really going to be the color I want long term? I want to wrap the car and leave it for a few years, even if I change the hood or anything else or add some other something. I want to leave the car alone. So personally, I'm still having that debate in my mind. My wife says change the color. She does not like the color of the anthracite and thinks it will be too dull on this car. So that'll be a discussion for next week. Once you see the samples, I'll lay everything out and get you guys' opinion. I'm still not sold on it, but yet I don't have the final solution. So the unfortunate part of this week is that with missing some pieces, and I didn't get all the wiring done because of the holiday, I had to take a couple days off to clean the house, had guests over and that. So does the car start this week? No. Did I miss my deadline? Yes. But sometimes that's just the way it goes. Life gets in the way of these builds, unfortunately, when you're doing it on the side. So maybe next week we'll get this thing started, but we should have some extra colors to look at and take the win of this car. At least will try to start itself with the proper wiring done. So with that, I'm leaving you there with the WideFox build. Come back next week. We'll check out some colors. We may actually hear it start if I can get off my butt and get it done. And I'll try to knock a couple more things off that list over there before we start to wrap the car. See you next time.